Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mystique Micah channel. Coming with you with a very rare upload. I usually don't upload. Usually I stream, but I stopped doing that, as maybe you've noticed. But yeah, no, we're back on the channel with a video idea I just kind of thought of this morning, and when I was like, you know what, let's just try it. Let's do it. Today we're gonna be ranking the incarnations of the Doctor from Doctor Who. Now, everyone's done this. Every Doctor Who fan has done this every once in a while. But I wanted to. I don't. I just kind of wanted to make this. There's no real reason to it. I just wanted to kind of make a video, any video. So, we're making this one. I've want this to be sort of not just like, oh, this doctor's in front of this doctor because I kind of like them more. I want this to be more fact based. Fact based. What does fact based mean? It means nothing at all. But hopefully, with how I've structured the ranking system, you'll agree with me by the end of the video. So we're gonna be ranking the doctors on three categories. One is acting, how well the doctor is acted, how well the actor portrays the doctor. The overall writing of the doctor, whether the doctor is written well, whether he's in character, and the quality of their stories overall. This can mean a multitude of things, just the concept of the story, what companions are in the story, how they're written. It pretty much means episodes. So let's start off with the head bitch in charge, the big daddy himself, the man who started it all, Mr. William Hartnell, who ran from November 23rd, 1963 to October 29th, 1966. What? This is hard. we're at the first one. This is already a hard one because acting wise, he did okay. I'm not gonna say he did great. He didn't do bad. I can sort of place the blame on how television was made back in the day. It was more made like a televised play instead of any actual like structuring on a TV screen or anything like that. And of course, due to that, he's flubbed his lines a lot, which I can put on like old age or anything like that. Not to say he was senile or anything, but acting somewhat left a little bit to be desired. But I think still, you know, he did good. He did a good job. As for the writing of his character, now when you think of the Doctor, you probably think of a kooky time traveler guy who's quirky. He has a wit to him, and this Doctor definitely has some of these things. But another one of the Doctor's core traits is his compassion. Of course, his pacifist nature. Um, well, of course, because this was written um, in the 1960s and before any sort of semblance of Doctor Who had a foundation, this man is just insane. This guy is crazy, bro. Which makes sense because the way the original Doctor Who season was written is because Ian Chesterton, one of his companions, it was supposed to be him. He was sort of like the main character guy, and the Doctor was sort of like the deuteragonist instead. And there's this one moment in his first serial where he takes a rock and he tries to beat someone over the head with it. He tries to kill a sleeping man. And it's like, if you've already watched Doctor Who and you already know what the Doctor's like, it's so funny to go back and just see how insane he was. So yeah, no, I think the way the Doctor is written, it was good. It was good for the time. Of course, again, no foundation for Doctor Who was really written by that point. But again, it's he's not very doctorly, which is not the writer's fault at all. But And then quality of stories. Now, listen, I understand the 1960s was a different time. Serials were much more commonplace than just like a regular episode or anything like that. But oh god, does this man's stories, they slog so much. There's such a slog sometimes. There's some exciting moments, of course. I mean, the Doctor Who wouldn't have gone this fucking far if there weren't any exciting moments. But it's such a slog to get through some of the serials that he has. Honestly, you could say that for a lot of the classic Doctors, which is a shame. But TV is different now, and it was different back then. So a lot of classic Who can feel a little bit boring. I know that's sort of blasphemous, but yeah, maybe you can see what I'm coming from. But all things considered, I think a lot of the writing in his serials is well done, even if you take away the pacing issues of the modern day. I think, excuse me, I think that he was written very competently. Talking about, I meant the stories, not him specifically. We already covered that. I think his stories were written very competently. I think they had really educational themes, which of course was the original purpose of Doctor Who. So I think they achieved in that sense. The companions of the era were fantastic. Ian and Barbara Testerson, one of my favorite duo of companions. Honestly, you can't speak about one without the other. You got Ian and Barbara. They're like a separate. They're a completed they're a completed entity. That's what I mean. They're a completed entity. Stephen, also a fantastic companion. All the others, so and so. Susan, of course, is good. Not great, but good. But anyways, yeah, I think with all things considered, I think we can put the First Doctor in a solid B. I think he gets extra points for starting the whole thing and just, skyrocketing this 60-year fucking franchise. I think he gets extra points for that. Next up, of course, is the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, who ran from October 29th, 1966 to June 21st, 1969. Nice. That was that was so unnatural, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, no, this one is also a little bit hard because most of his episodes are just straight up missing. They're just missing. There are just some episodes you just can't watch of him, and it's sad because from what I can tell, a lot of his adventures are really cool and really just okay. I'm just gonna be completely honest, man. I there is a completely definite formula in his stories: Monster of the Week, Fortress, Defense, which is fine. It's fine, but after a while, it doesn't really provide anything very interesting. But anyways, acting. Now Patrick Troughton had, of course, a lot on his fucking plate. He had to continue the series as a completely different person to William Hartnell and to continue the series as it was. Of course, he succeeded. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any of these people. But I think just he did good. He did good. I don't know why I stuttered for a minute, but he did really good. He did really good considering the circumstances that that were put onto him. I think he did a fantastic job, and I think um, his cadence and his portrayal of the Doctor made a lot of foundation for the future Doctors who came after him. Of course, Matt Smith took heavy inspiration from the second Doctor, evident by the bow tie and everything like that. But I think he does bring a lot to the role. I'm glad that they didn't go with his original idea, which was blackface, pretty much. That might have killed the show, but yeah, no, I think he did really good as an actor. Writing of the Doctor, we already went over that kind of, but again, um, writing such a different character after making a pre-established one, and trying to meld a little bit of normalcy, like consistency among the incarnations, that couldn't have been easy. So I applaud the writing on making a good transition. And even though the second Doctor is immensely different to the first Doctor, he is still, how do you say, the Doctor. He still feels like the Doctor, pretty much. Yeah. And maybe that's because of hindsight, but I think he did good. Stories, we are again, we already kind of touched on that. His stories can be very formulaic. It can be very samey, but I think even at the times where it's done right, it can be fantastic. Of course, one of the greatest Doctor Who stories of all time, Tomb of the Cybermen, it comes to mind. And companions, I mean, you can't mention the second Doctor without his very good pal and roommate, Jamie McCrimmon. They had a fantastic chemistry on screen, and he really brought a lot to the era. All things considered, I think we can put him in the same tier as Hartnell at B. Maybe even a little bit higher. No, I think B. B's a good. B's a good point. B's a good point. Um, John Pertwee, who shit, I forgot to introduce him. Next up is the third Doctor, John Pertwee, who ran from January 3rd, 1970 to June 8th, 1974. John Pertwee is one of my favorite incarnations of the Doctor, so I might be just a teensy bit biased here, but I think this era is fantastic overall. Let's start with the acting. John Pertwee is fucking fantastic in the role. He is charming when he needs to be. He's bombastic when he needs to be. He's just different. He's just different from the rest of the Doctors up to that point, even though there were only two. Um, so yeah, I think John Pertwee did a fantastic job. I think I think he did better than Hartnell. Maybe not. I think him and Tronton are on the same level, though. I think so, and I think that's fair because they were both sort of character actors before they took up the role of the Doctor. Character writing of the Doctor. I think. Now, of course, there's always the speech that the second Doctor gives to Victoria in one of the stories that I forgot which story it was, but yeah, he gives this speech and it's very compassionate, a lot more compassionate than maybe you'd see in the first Doctor era. But I think how just el- not eloquent, but just like fiercely and bombastically and just fiery the third Doctor is when it comes to right and wrong is such a level of compassion that really builds on like the foundation that kind of Tronton used. And of course, this is not to discount Hartnell, who did have a little bit of compassion in him, but not as much as Tronton and any of the other Doctors who came before him. So yeah, I think the third Doctor just fighting for what's right and like he's just I can't explain it very well. I can't explain. It's just when I look at this portrayal and I see the speeches and I hear the lines of dialogue and everything like that, I just think that is the fucking Doctor right there. That's who I think of when I think of the Doctor, in my opinion. That's who I think of. And then, of course, story quality. The fucking balls on the writers to put a science fiction show which has primarily focused on being in space, on different planets, in different times on Earth, maybe, but still very much time travel. To take all of that away and just put it on present day Earth is fucking crazy. And what's even crazier is that they somehow made it work. They somehow made it work. And honestly, all of the adventures with Unit and Joe, Sarah, Liz Shaw, who definitely needed another season, by the way, are fantastic. The Brigadier, how did I not mention the fucking Brigadier? The Brigadier, and just everything about the era is fantastic. The James Bond qualities of it, just the sheer bombasticness of it. I keep saying bombastic in relation to this Doctor, and that's just how I see him. He's bombastic. Okay, I need to calm down. But anyways, just there's something else I wanted to mention. Fuck. Um, but yeah, no. Honestly, I prefer him being on Earth than I ever did him being in space. That's how good the stories were. So I think, in my opinion, and maybe bias is driving it, I think our first S tier should go to Mr. John Pertwee. Now on to the one you probably already know, Tom Baker, who ran from June 8th, 1974 to March 21st, 1981, the longest tenured Doctor, and for good fucking reason. Let me tell you something. For any Doctor Who, non-Doctor Who fans who are watching this video right now, before David Tennant was even a thing, this man was the fucking Doctor. For 3 decades, when Americans or anyone around the world who may not have been from Britain, even people in Britain who are still watching the show, for anyone outside of the British sphere of television, this man was the Doctor. And that is like no feat to scoff at. Acting, phenomenal. Tom Baker is such a fucking mad lad, dude. It's hard to explain because so many people have said it before. It's just, he's great. There's nothing left to be said. He's fantastic. If you want an example, Genesis of the Daleks, his "Do I Have the Right" speech. I mean, that's already fantastic. But any of the other, like, comedy moments where he's just, like, goofing around, where he doesn't give a shit, where he's just completely insane, he is fantastic as the Doctor, and I can understand why he was the longest tenured Doctor, and I can understand why people know him as the Doctor. Now, how's the writing of the Doctor? Again, phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal. We kind of touched on it. I love how much this man doesn't give a fuck. There's a clip from a serial, I forgot what serial it was, and it's this guy, he's holding a gun to him, and he's like, "Turn around, Doctor," and he just turns around, but he doesn't stop at his back, he just does like a twirl. And it's fucking hilarious, dude. I just love how much he really feels like a man at a time. He really feels like a man who doesn't give a shit because, you know, he can just get back in his blue box and just, like, go another place. He doesn't care about this, whatever you guys got going on, unless people are at stake, of course. But, you know, he just doesn't care. And I think that's fantastic. Quality of stories, I mean, and then, of course, the quality of the stories. I mean, like, there's just, I mean, what do you choose? Genesis of the Daleks, the Terror of Wang Chen, I believe it's called. Fucking the Hand of Fear. There's two. The Hand, is that even a serial? I hope it is. I might have embarrassed myself. But yeah, no, I mean, you can't even name them. You can't even name all of them. He has Planet of Death, I believe it's called. It's called City of Death, not Planet of Death. City of Death. But like, he is just everything all around. He is fantastic. And of course, he had some duds, but like, whatever. He's fucking Tom Baker. And of course, I think that deserves another S ranking right there. Now on to the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, who ran from March 21st, 1981 to March 16th, 1984. Whew. All I'm going to say to preface this, the 80s were a rough time for Doctor Who. Now listen, let's start with acting. I think he did okay. There are some moments where he does really good and he's really great, but there are just some moments where it's like I just don't really feel it. It's like kind of weird and shit like that. I don't know, but like there's just some moments where it's like, eh. So acting, not really the strongest, but of course, again, there's some really great moments in there. And I want to mention, there's really no bad actor for the Doctor. No Doctor has had a bad actor. The lowest it's gone down to is okay, which of course is Peter Davison. Quality of the Doctor. I like his portrayal of the Doctor. I like that he's the nice guy. Not in the way that you're thinking, but I like that he's a nice guy, like an actual nice guy. He's pleasant. He's pleasant. He's witty. He's a chill guy. I'd like to get a beer with him. I'd have a beer with him, and I think he'd treat me right. But anyways, yeah, no, I think the way he's written is good. Quality of stories. Now, Earthshock, fantastic story. No one's denying that. Many of the other things, though. Caves of Androzani. Caves of Androzani is also fantastic. That's another one. Everything else, though, is kinda mid. It's kinda mid. Which is a shame because one of my favorite companions, Tegan, is a very big, prevalent person in this era. She's pretty much there for his entire era, except for, I think 2 stories. But, it's upsetting. It's upsetting because it's kind of mid. It's just kind of mid. Kinda. I mean, that's actually a story from his era. Kinda. I can't really. I just think it's mid. It's just kind of mid, and I think with all things considered, I think that's warranting of a C tier. Or maybe even a D tier. I'm not sure. I think C tier, because I think Tegan elevates it. The Sixth Doctor. Now on to the Sixth Doctor, who played from March 16th, 1984 to December 6th, 1986. This is painful for me. Because I want to make it clear, we're not counting any extra content in this. This is all just the TV show. So no Big Finish, no books, no nothing like that. Just the TV show. The Sixth Doctor is one of my favorite Doctors. And I have long said the Sixth Doctor is my favorite Doctor, but not for anything shown in the TV show. His era is ass. It's ass. It's just ass. Let's start with acting. Colin Baker is a fantastic actor, and he does a fantastic job with what he's given. Any other actor, I think the show would have been canceled a lot sooner. But I think Colin Baker, he tried his best, and his best was fantastic. And I think you can give him credit for that. You can give him credit for being a fantastic actor. The way the Doctor is written is not extremely out of character, but it's a bit out of character. Of course the Doctor can be arrogant. I mean, there evidence so. He is a little bit arrogant at some points. But the way he takes it is just so... Excuse me. It's so egregious that it's kind of just how did it happen like this? How did this happen? And I can tell you how it happened. Bad writers. But he's just so annoying. He's so mean spirited. I hate him. I hate him in the TV show, which is a good thing that Big Finish exists because they pretty much redeemed him as a character. Quality of stories, there's nothing to be said. It's all of it is ass. Almost all of it is ass. The only thing that isn't ass is Trial of a Time Lord, and even then, that's not even the best of Doctor Who. Like it's ass after ass after ass after ass. I'm sorry. It's just bad. It's just bad, which is a shame again because he's one of my favorite doctors, and I think because of that, we put him in F. I'm sorry. We have to put him in F. Next up is the seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, who ran from September 7th, 1987 to December 6th, 1989, the last Doctor from the classic era of the show. Sylvester McCoy, I think, gets a bad rap. I think he gets a bad rap because he was the last Doctor before the show was canceled, so naturally, you would think, oh, his era must have been bad. Which maybe is a little bit correct, but I think towards the end of the show's run, the writing was genuinely improving and it was fantastic. I think it reached the levels of Baker and Pertwee back in the day, back in the 70s. Let's start with acting. Sylvester McCoy's interpretation of the Doctor is probably one of my favorites. I like that he's kind of like the second Doctor, but taken to an extreme. You know, the second Doctor, he was like he pretended to be like a dumbass, and then he'd outsmart his villains. The seventh Doctor pretends to be clown, and then he'll find out a way to make sure that you die infinitely. Like he's fucking insane. He's like an actual gaslighter. It's hard to like get into anything out not get into anything that's out of the show, but like just he's a bastard. He is a bastard, bro, and I love that. And Sylvester McCoy portrays it fantastically. His voice, his cadence, his everything, it's fantastic. And I think he doesn't get enough love, which you will hear me say throughout this. Quality of the Doctor. Again, the way that he is portrayed and written is a great interpretation of the Doctor, and I wish we could have gotten more of him. I really wish we could have gotten more of him. And then like quality of stories. Now, his first season is bad. It's ass. I mean, there's no real debating that. Dragonfire is a little bit good, but everything other than that is kind of ass. His next seasons, though, Remembrance of the Daleks, Phrenic, fucking The Happiness Patrol, even though that's heavily debated to be, bad or whatever, I don't care. I think The Happiness Patrol is great. If his era wasn't the last in the classic series, he would be regarded better, because this era is fantastic. It's fantastic. I don't think it's as great as Pertwee or Baker, but I think he gets an A. Truly, I think he gets to be in the A position. Next up is Paul McGann, who he didn't ran from anything. he has two appearances, one in the 1996 TV movie called The Enemy Within, and one in a mini-sode for the 50th anniversary of the series. This one's tough because it's not even like that a lot of his best stuff is in Big Finish or other media. It's that all of his stuff is in Big Finish and other media. So, judging him based on a movie that isn't very good because it was half written by Warner Brothers, I believe, or some American company, and a minisode which is admittedly great, but is still like, I think 5 minutes long. It's hard. But I think the way that Paul McGann is written in the movie is, it's good. I think it's good. It's not the best interpretation. It's not bad interpretation by any means, but I think it leaves a little bit to be desired. Maybe. I haven't watched the movie in a long time. I'm sorry. I haven't watched a lot of Doctor Who in a long time, so maybe you might disagree with some of the points I've made thus far. But I think unanimously, a lot of people don't really like the movie. So I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. It just, he's sort of, he wasn't out of character, but he wasn't exactly like the most doctor, which isn't a bad thing. But at the same time, for a reboot movie, you probably want to bring your all, you know. And then of course there was the whole thing with him kissing companions. He kissed Grace in the movie. A lot of people were shocked by that, but honestly, if you look at Unit back in the 70s, I mean, they were fucking. Let's be completely honest here. Okay, I'm about to get conspiratorial, but let's be honest, they were fucking. I mean, you can draw a line between any of the two characters in Unit, and they were fucking. Okay, like they may deny it in their old age, but it definitely happened. Okay, like it definitely, there was an orgy. Okay, let me stop. Um, but yeah, no, I think just judging him on the movie, which is the only substantial content we have of him in my rules, I think he goes in D. He's not terrible, but the way the movie is, it's just you know. And now on to the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, who portrayed the Doctor from March 26th, 2005 to June 18th, 2005. Only a year and only one season. And I can tell you right now, he needed way more than one season. Christopher Eccleston, I mean, obviously he had a lot on his plate. He had to revive Doctor Who. He had to be good enough to revive Doctor Who. Imagine that. So, I think, okay, obviously by the fact that Doctor Who's still going, he did a pretty damn good job. But the Ninth Doctor, okay, let's say you were in 2005 and, like, you were an old Doctor Who fan and you're watching the reboot. You might agree that the Doctor doesn't really look like the Doctor. You know, leather jacket, t-shirt, buzzed hair, sort of. You're probably looking at this and you're like, this is the Doctor? Like, what the hell is this? And then you learn about why he looks like this, why he is like this, and the Time War. The Time War and the destruction of Gallifrey is one of the greatest arcs in the series, and one of an arc of great importance for the Doctor. So I think on that alone, the fact that they introduced that and they integrated that so good into the lore of the series is fantastic. It's fantastic. And of course that's what he says, fantastic. And acting wise, Christopher Eccleston is fantastic. He kind of reminds me of Pertwee in a way. He is very compassionate and he's very fiery when he needs to be, bombastic. To use a word I was using when I was talking about him. He's very bombastique. And honestly, quality of stories, there are some duds. End of the world, you know. But I mean, like, what was the one? The Empty Children, I believe it was. The two-parter. Hit The Parting of Ways. The Slovene one, which actually scared me as a kid. Actually scared me. Looking back, it's silly, but Jesus Christ, they scared the shit out of me. But I think, all things considered, I think Christopher Eccleston did a fantastic job. And honestly, I'm gonna put him in A. I think, let me explain. I think the reason, the thing holding him back from S tier is the fact that he didn't get a second season. If he had another season, if he had multiple seasons, which is preferable, I think he would have been even better. So I think A is a good placement for him. David Tennant. Oh, Lordy David Tennant. The 10th Doctor who ran from June 18th, 2005 to January 1st, 2010. There is nothing that can be said that hasn't already been said about David Tennant. David Tennant, for a whole generation of Doctor Who fans, is the Doctor. He is the Doctor. He is Tom Baker of this era. And just, if you're looking for a complete embodiment of the Doctor, just a complete embodiment of the Doctor, and maybe just like the current interpretation of the Doctor, maybe not just wholesale everything. In that case, I would have probably picked Tom. But if we're looking for like just the whole thing of the new Doctors, you'd point to David Tennant. I think sometimes David Tennant is discredited because he was, of course, around during he pretty much made the big Who boom of the 2000s, and like he had a bunch of like fangirls and everything like that, and of course people got annoyed by that. I didn't really think it was that weird, but actually no, I did. When I was like a young kid, I discredited him because he was like the favorite and I wanted to be contrarian. But looking back, he is fantastic. Acting is fantastic. Writing is mostly fantastic. Every Doctor has duds. Let's be honest. But for the most part, it's mostly fantastic. Donna Noble. I mean, Donna fucking Noble, dude. Let's be fucking for real, dude. One of the best companions in the series. I love Donna, and she elevates the stories completely. And I think he's the GOAT. He is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. Sometimes his characterization would get a little bit weary. He sort of became sort of like a Jesus figure sometimes, which is kind of weird. But yeah, no, I think for that reason, everything I just said, he goes in S tier. He's fantastic. On to Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, who ran from January 1st, 2010 to December 25th, 2013. Anyone who hasn't watched Doctor Who, you might know him as the guy dancing in Morbius. But he did have a career before that. So, I think for this one, we're gonna have to go by the books. Let's start with acting. He does a good job. Now, I wouldn't say he's great, but he does a good job being like quirky and like sort of like the superficial elements of the Doctor. He does fantastically. But actually, no, I think he did a great job. I'm not gonna say he didn't do a great job. He did a great job portraying like the emotion behind the eyes and being an old man beyond his years and everything like that. I think he did a fantastic job doing that. You have to forgive me, my throat. But and then we go into fuck, what's next? Then we go into the writing of his character. Sometimes it got a little bit weird. Like, he'd be all, like, antisocial and stuff like that. Not antisocial, but like, weird about social interaction. He wouldn't understand human norms, which is not really... That doesn't really make sense for a character like him, I guess. Yeah, I think the writing for him was pretty often great. It was often great. I think he did good. Stories. This is where we sort of fall off. Stephen Moffat can write a good story. He can write a good Doctor Who story for sure. He doesn't often do it, though. As Season 5, I think Season 5 was definitely the Doctor's this Doctor's best season, because there was an arc, but it was kind of in the background, so it wasn't really that prevalent. Season 6 and 7 are just kind of weird, bro. They're just kind of weird. Season 6 and 7 had like these arcs that were all about like dissecting the Doctor and like answering the question Doctor Who and everything like that. And it was just all weird and confusing and convoluted, and of course that's Doctor Who, sometimes, but like it was on a completely different level, and just I don't know, the stories were just kind of, they ranged from good to bad. Except for Day of the Doctor. Day of the Doctor is fantastic. But anyways, all things considered, I think we can put him at B. Maybe to C, but nah, not to C. I think B is a good place. The 12th Doctor. The 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, who ran from December 25th, 2013 to December 25th, 2017. Whew. I love Peter Capaldi. I love Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. I love his aged rock star persona. I think season 8 is his weakest season, but season 9 is still a little bit weird. Season 10 is his best season. Season 10 is definitely his best season with Bill Potts. And just, let's start with acting. Peter Capaldi is amazing. He's been training for this role for several decades, as you'll see by how much of a fucking fan he was of this show. He's been training for this, and his training has paid off, and he is a fantastic Doctor actor. Again, I brought up, he's sort of two Doctors in a way. The first season he's sort of standoffish, angry, just like he's mean-spirited, rude, and everything like that. Not really. He's not like kind of like the six. People kind of compared him to the Sixth Doctor, but I don't think that's fruitful. Season 9 and 10 is where most of his best work goes, where he's wearing like a frock coat over like a zip up jacket. And he's got like band tees on, he's got the sunglasses on. Some people thought it was corny, but I absolutely disagree. I think his version of the Doctor, where it's just like old rock star sort of, is fantastic. I love him for that. And then there's the writing of the Doctor himself. Again, season 8 was a little bit rocky, sort of just kind of not really as doctory as you'd hope it to be. Not bad, a little bit bad, but not bad. Season 9 and 10 sort of ironed that things out, and he sort of regained that feel to him. Not that he didn't feel like the Doctor in season 8, but he gained that feeling. That feeling. He's got the feeling. So yeah, I think his character writing is good. And then there's... Excuse me. And then there's the writing of the stories. So Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat... Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi were written by Stephen Moffat. They were both written by Stephen Moffat. So a lot of Moffat stuff is in this. So it's kind of just like... It's the same problems as Matt Smith. A lot of mystery boxes and weird, like, mysteries that are convoluted and insane and crazy and shit like that. So, like, the 12th Doctor suffers from that as well. There's Heaven Sent, which is a fantastic story. Hellbent afterwards, which is a horrible story. I think season 10 is his best, because I think Bill Potts is a fantastic companion, and I think she gels a lot better than Clara did with 12. And I really love what was it? It was the it was the story before Twice Upon a Time that I really liked. I also kind of liked Twice Upon a Time, except for like the writing of the first Doctor, who's like written really weird by Moffat. But yeah, no, I love the 12th Doctor. But again, he suffers from the same problems as Matt. So I'm gonna put him in B. I'm gonna put him right next to Matt. The 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, who ran from December 25th, 2017 to October 23rd, 2022, and she will be the last Doctor I will be ranking. I won't rank the 14th Doctor because I haven't seen the specials yet, and also because I assume he's just sort of similar to David Tennant in a way. And Newty Gawa, I believe it's pronounced. I won't be I won't be ranking him because I think it's too early to rank him. But at the same time, I like what I'm seeing. And these other three who aren't named, War Doctor, Fugitive, Valyard, I won't rank them just because they're not, you know, official doctors. Sorry. So, the 13th Doctor, I think it's the 13th fucking Doctor. What can I say that hasn't been said already? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making Doctor Who shit when they cast a female Doctor. I'm still like conspiratorial about that because I truly think there's a conspiracy because there's no way that the quality of the writing dropped so bad when Jodie Whittaker took over. Like, there's literally no way that happened without being on purpose, in my opinion. That's my headcanon. But anyways, let's start with acting. Jodie Whittaker does the best she can with what's given. She does the best with what is given to her. And is it enough? Not really, but she's trying her best, and honestly, I want to see more of her, but under a very different writer. Quality of the Doctor's writing. Ass. Ass. There's nothing else that can be said. She it's like the Master took the skin of the Doctor and has been parading around as them this entire tenure. That's how out of character the 13th Doctor feels. On to story quality. Story quality is ass. I mean, it's uninteresting. The companions are uninteresting. It's bad. It's bad. If you want to know how bad it is, watch The Fall of Doctor Who by JXE. It's a fantastic video. It's 5 hours. You can watch it in parts, but it's all worth it, and you'll be supporting a fellow trans girl. But anyways, Jodie Whittaker, F. I'm sorry to say. I hope that they big finish her like they did Colin Baker and give her a second lease on life so that the first female Doctor isn't all bad, And that's our tier list. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm still a YouTuber at the end of the day. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And have a good rest of your day. Bye.